It's been a really fun spring training, Austin. It started from the very first day when guys like Kevin Gowdy got on the mound. Ricky Vanasco got to show his big 98-mile-an-hour fastball. So for a prospect guys like us, it's been super fun. For me, there's a couple of guys I have in mind, but what stuck out to you so far, Austin?
I think first off, you got to talk about the guy that I think really stood out a lot. I'm going to talk about the offensive side first, and that's Andy Pages. He really stood out to a lot of Dodgers fans as having that it factor. Andy Pages, as we've talked about many times before, has that it factor when you talk about the tools. He can hit for a ton of power. He hit for some home runs during the course of spring training. He's got the electric arm in the outfield. He can get extra base hits. And what was great about Andy Pages is he showed that he is healthy going into the 2024 season because he missed a good majority of his 2023 campaign was taken away from him because of an injury that he endured that took him out the rest of the season. Andy Pages, seeing him good, seeing him healthy, and back to the Andy Pages that had a 150 WRC plus in 2021 in Great Lakes. Andy Pages that can be clutch, elite, like what we saw during that season. To see that version of Andy Pages back and with him on the cusp of Major League Baseball, to see him at AAA, and especially with openings in 2025 to this Major League club, I think Dodgers fans are more excited than they've ever been before about Andy Pages, and it was because of the signs and performances that he showed in spring training.
You want to know another guy that burst onto the scene and got a lot of Dodgers fans excited? This guy right here, Josue de Paula. Hey, we knew all about him. He has the swag, but you got to see it with your own eyes in spring training. You got to see the defensive side of things. You got to see that sweet swing from the left side of Josue de Paula. And the Dodgers, to their credit, they gave him a lot of playing time. So, hey, the question for de Paula has been, is he going to be foot speed enough to play the outfield? But we got to see him run the bases. We got to see him make a sliding catch. We got to see him quite a bit. And then we just got to see that wonderful personality.
Josue de Paula has got all the upside in the world. There's a reason why so many people are excited about Josue de Paula, and that's because of the tools that he has. And if he hits for even just a little bit more power, if he adds that to the game with the plate discipline that he has, with the defense that he can put out there in the outfield, there's just so much upside that you can see from this kid who is just 19 years old. He's got a ton of talent, and we saw that on display in spring training.
I think on the pitching side, a guy that came out of nowhere for even a guy like me, Patrick Copen. That performance in the spring breakout game, I think his long 6'6" size, Dodgers fans are like, who in the heck is this guy, right? Then you saw that blazing fastball. So I think one of the guys that turned a lot of heads was Patrick Copen.
Oh, he absolutely did, especially that spring breakout type performance. And when you talk about Patrick Copen, we haven't had a chance to see a whole lot about him, so that was great to see. Similar to an Edgardo Henriquez, who broke out onto the scene during that spring breakout game as well, and just throw electric heat, similar to what we saw during the spring training with a guy like a Juan Murillo, threw a lot of heat, and we got to see him perform, or many other guys throughout this system. It's really cool to see the depth and talent level that even guys that we have not seen before at the minor league level, the Dodgers continue to identify and find great talent, and they're going to be working with these guys through this system this upcoming season.
I think Juan Murillo, of course, guys like us, we knew it. Hey, man, this guy runs hot. He throws 100 miles an hour. He has a dirty slider. I really think for Dodgers fans, and then also the front office, but for Dodgers fans that were paying attention, they were like, whoa, this guy's good, man. Juan Murillo, I think, really showed well for himself.
Yeah, Juan Murillo showed well for himself, a guy like a Sarin Lau really showed well for himself too throughout this spring training. That was really good, as well as a guy that you mentioned at the top of the show, Kevin Gowdy, who made some adjustments last season. He got some run time, and you saw some of the stuff really play during the spring training. A lot of good talent that is coming up through the relief pitching side, which can often be neglected, but shouldn't be neglected because the talent level that they have and the dynamic stuff that they have can really be helpful for this Dodgers club in the future.
I think moving back to the position player side, I really think Trey Sweeney, we're seeing him right here on the screen, I think really he solidified himself as a real candidate that if things just go a little bit wrong this year, he could be with the Major League club.
Yeah, no, he came over in the trade, the Yorber Vivas, the Victor Gonzalez trade with the Yankees. And so we, similar to some of these other guys, haven't had a chance to watch him a whole lot, but getting the chance to watch him in spring training, he's going to get a lot of run time at the AAA level in Oklahoma City, in which case he's just one stop away from the Major League level. And with some of the uncertainty that there is at shortstop, there's reason to pay attention to Trey Sweeney and just the skill level that he has. He doesn't have a lot of flaws in his game, and there's perhaps reason to believe that there's even more upside in that bat. Perhaps there's even more power that you could tap into with a Trey Sweeney with the tools that he has. He had a really good performance, solidifying himself as part of this Dodgers organization, as part of this Dodgers club. Really cool to see guys like him come into this organization and adapt, just like we've seen with some of the other young prospects that have come in and adapted to the system.
I think another guy, it was real early. He kind of didn't get as much playing time as spring training went on, but the first week or so, Jose Ramos, man, he got a lot of playing time. He showed really well for himself. The key to him has always been that swing and miss. Can he walk more, strike out less? I think he showed the ability to shorten the stroke a little bit, keep the ball in the strike zone, go back up the middle, back up the box with it. I think he showed well for himself, Jose Ramos.
Yeah, you showed some of those adjustments that he made, and he is a breakout or bounce back type candidate, just like what Andy Pages was able to do from 2022 to the start of 2023. Perhaps you can see that because Jose Ramos has a lot of very similar skill set, a lot of very similar tools to an Andy Pages, you could see him be a really good, solid bounce back candidate. And what he was able to show during the course of spring training, you saw the power, which always is going to be there for Jose Ramos, but those other abilities, the other aspects of the game to make yourself a little bit more of a well-rounded player, we got to see some of those with Jose Ramos.
I think Tyrone Lorenzo, he turned some heads. We've been talking about him for a long time. We'll start with him, but I think the last two guys we're going to talk about, him and Kenny George, the Dodgers' #1 draft pick from last summer. I think both of them caught the Dodgers fans' attentions.
Oh, yeah, they certainly did. And you saw during the spring breakout game for Tyrone Lorenzo, who Casey actually had a chance to do an interview with him about a month back. You saw the power that Tyrone Lorenzo has. We know about the offensive ability that Tyrone Lorenzo has. Now he was able to showcase that. And with Kendall George, we've heard a lot about the speed that he has. We haven't seen a lot of footage because they don't have a lot of footage in Rancho, but being able to beat out a weekly hit ground out easily, as we saw during the exhibition series against the Angels, that is incredible, insane amount of speed, and that's going to turn weak ground balls into singles and then stolen bases to put yourself into scoring position. And we also saw Kendall George during the spring breakout game be able to hit for a little bit of gap extra base power, which if that happens, that is a game changer for Kendall George and his potential to be able to hit for that. He's got all of the speed, and these are a couple of young, talented position player prospects that are going to be at the lower levels in the minor league system, perhaps in Great Lakes in 2024. All the potential in the world. We got to see a small part of that potential during spring training.